Today, let's start in regular seated pose. Sukhasana or Hatha, folks. You can use a block with your sit bones on the front of it. That will help tilt your pelvis forward. And I hope that you are not as frazzled as me. But by the end of the class, we'll all have Shavasana together. So, straighten up your spine, the crown of your head up towards the ceiling. Tuck your chin in just a little bit. Take a deep cleansing breath in through your nose. And exhale it out through your nose. Another inhale through your nose. Exhale out through your nose. Let your breath come to its own natural rhythm, in and out through your nose. You can allow your eyes to close. Feel the oxygen coming in through your nose, rushing down into your lungs. Notice which parts of your lungs inflate. Notice if there are any restrictions. Because I'm going to change the normal meditation, I'm going to have you slowly walk your hands forward into a forward fold. But as you do that slowly, notice your breath and how it gets restricted. Now you don't have to come all the way over. Try to keep your sit bones both down. You can come over onto your elbows. You can rest your head on a block if that makes sense for you. Try to moon the person behind you. That will lengthen your spine, allowing you to fold forward a little bit more. And again, focus on your breathing. Maybe try breathing into your kidneys. Feel the lower back expanding, widening. And then work your breath up to your ribs. And then the middle, and then the tops of your lungs. You're just observing, not trying to improve it, improve your breath, not trying to make it any deeper. Just be a witness to what's going on inside your body. In this position, you may be able to hear your breath, and that's a good thing. Normally, our breath is so quiet that it's hard to hear. That's why in more vigorous types of yoga, Ujjayi breath is engaged so that you can listen to how your lungs are working. Begin to deepen your breath. On your next inhale, start walking your hands back towards your hips, rising up. Set any blocks you use to the side and straighten out your legs. Push your heels away, bring your hands behind your hips. Maybe rock your feet one side to the other. And then come down onto your elbows, all the way down onto your back. Raise your hands up towards the ceiling. And then continue rotating those arms towards the wall beyond your head. And stretch from your fingers to your toes. And your heels to your palms. And then just soften. The first pose is going to be the left-sided banana. So to get into banana, your hips cannot move. They are fixed to your mat. So switch your head and shoulders over to the left side of your mat. You don't have to go an awful long way. And then once you're there, again, without moving your hips, walk your feet to the left side of your mat. And if that's too much, it'll be way too much in a few minutes after you have begun to relax into this pose. So take a happy medium. Make sure that that right sit bone is down on the mat. And if you have to back up, back up. You're getting a nice long stretch in your right side body. Maybe you want to grab your right wrist with your left hand and push with your left hand to lengthen your right arm. You don't care about pulling it off to the left. You're looking for length. Try to soften your belly. Soften your glutes. If you'd like to intensify this pose a little bit, you can always raise up that right heel about 2 inches and move it over the top of your left ankle and return it back down, both legs straight. Continue to breathe in and out through your nose. If you get any cramping in the left side, maybe just breathe diaphragmatically and use your diaphragm to push your organs down a little bit below your bottom rib. They'll give them a little bit more space. When you exhale, they can readjust to their new position. Notice where you're feeling this. Opening up your arms, your shoulder, particularly your right shoulder. You're lengthening your spine. Begin to deepen your breath. On your next exhale, uncross your feet and walk them back to center. And then slowly bring your shoulders and head back to center. Then return your arms back down by your sides. Gently and carefully walk your feet up towards your sit bones. Banana is such a strong pose that moving quickly is not normally the smartest thing to do. Grab one knee and bring it into your chest. Give yourself a squeeze. And then add the other knee. Then rock from left to right or make some circles on the ceiling with your knees. And go the opposite direction. Find your block. And then return your footprints next to your hips. Bring your hands down onto the mat next to your hips. And then on an inhale, tuck your tailbone under, lift your hips up towards the ceiling, into bridge, and stay here for one breath. And then lower back down. This next time, take the block the flat direction. We're going to be going into reclining squat. So the flat direction, high, and then the longest width would be from left to right. So on your next inhale, tuck your tailbone under, lift up, place that block underneath your sacrum, and then come back down. From here, raise your right foot up, place it on the ceiling, push that heel away, stretching your hamstring, and then bend your knee. Bring that right ankle over your left thigh. Push your right knee away just by the strength of your knee. And then lift your left knee up. Right hand comes between your legs, left hand around the outside. Maybe you grab the outside of your thigh and draw that knee into your chest. Reclining swan allows you to stretch your glutes with a great deal of control over exactly where you will feel this. If you have any feelings or sensations in that right knee, make sure that you flex that right foot. Don't keep that knee from twisting. Now for the modifications. The more you draw that left knee into your chest, the more intensity you get on your glutes. And now you can adjust where your right knee is. If you want to bring that right knee off to the left a little bit, that will change the location of which glute gets engaged. The closer to your body center line that right knee goes, the more of your gluteus maximus you feel. And your gluteus maximus is at the center, or towards the center of your pelvis on the back side. You can reach your hand down on the outside and just feel what parts of your glutes are in the most amount of tension. Or if you'd rather have this on the outside glute, your gluteus medius, move your foot, move your knee way over to the right so that your foot is just barely on your thigh, and draw in and see if you can detect the difference. And then find what's best for you. Every person in this room is different. We each have different needs, different bodies, and our activities today have been different. You may have played pickleball for 3 hours straight, or you may have been hiking for 4 hours. We could have had a very strenuous game of mahjong. Begin to deepen your breath. On your next exhale, release your bind and slowly lower that left foot down onto the mat. Lift that right leg up, pushing that heel up onto the ceiling again. Feel that stretch on the back of your leg. Bend the knee, right foot comes down to meet the left. Lift your hips up, remove the block. Come back down. Bring your knees into your chest. And rock or make circles, whichever gives more pleasure to your spine. And the next pose is going to start in a table position, so maybe the easiest way to get there is to cross your ankles and rock forwards and backwards. Or you can come over onto your right side, use your left hand to get up. From here, we're coming into table, so come onto your favorite hip, and then come up onto all fours. Your knees are directly beneath your hips, your wrist crease directly below your shoulders. Do a couple of cat cows here. Your toenails are pushing down into the mat. And your feet should be wide enough so that if you look between your legs, you can't see your feet. That will get your femurs set in your pelvis. And the next time you come to center, pause. From here, lift your right foot up and back, stepping on that back wall. Your gaze can be between your hands. And then on an exhale, bring that right foot up alongside the right pinky finger. Coming into your favorite and my favorite dragon. Your left knee can go back an inch or so or not. Rise up onto your right knee with your hands. You can always put a towel underneath your left knee. You can come up on a block on your left shin. But from here, try just an experiment. You don't have to stay here. Try to overstep your knee. Take your knee a little bit farther in front of your foot. Turn another way so you can see what I'm talking about. So that you're coming forward. Your entire foot is on the mat. But you come forward. And what you feel is your Achilles gets a lot of tension. Your gastrocnemius, which are these two big muscles on the back of your leg, feel it. And on the inside front of your leg is your soleus. Those are the main muscles in your lower leg. But this is a nice relief for them. You're really stretching them out. And if you've had an active morning of play, this is probably something that you are regretting at the moment. But I don't think so. In addition, now you can come back to a regular baby dragon if you wish. And if you wish, you can bring your hands down onto the mat. And another option is to come into low flying dragon, which would be bending your elbows and bringing your elbows down to the mat or onto a block. This pose also is stretching your hip flexors. Both your psoas, which is the major elevator muscle that lifts your legs up, and then your iliacus, which is the muscle that lifts up and brings your leg out to the side. You can walk that right leg out to the side a little bit, or a lot, and notice how the sensations change. Find what's best for you. And what's best for you is where it's tightest. That's the area that you want to focus on. So that you can allow the tension to come out from the muscle and go into your fascia, the connective tissue, and stimulate more growth, which will give you more flexibility and, more importantly, more mobility. You may increase some range of motion that you may have lost over the years. Begin to deepen your breath. Straighten up your arms, lifting your chest. Walk your hands back enough so that you can release that right leg back to meet the left. And in table, you can do some cat-cows if that helps. Make some big circles where you can curl your toes under and lift your hips up and back into down dog. Do what's best for your body as your body recovers from that stretching. And then come back down onto your hands and knees. Walk your hands and knees off towards the left side of your mat. And then lower your right hip down. Your left thigh should be roughly parallel to the front of the mat. And then turn towards the front of the mat. And we're going to go into a face down spinal twist. Now you may want to block up underneath your collarbones or underneath or a block under there to give you a little bit more space on your chest. Maybe it will give you enough room to turn your head. So walk your hands forward. Bring your arms out into T. And try gazing off towards your right hand. And if that doesn't work for you, that's okay. You don't have to look off towards that right hand. You don't want to strain your neck. So if it feels good for a minute or 40 seconds, go for it, and then change. Feel how this twist is entering your body. Your right hip is very restrained. Your pelvis is held in position by your left leg. And so your shoulders are what determines how intense this is. That left shoulder probably is not on the mat, and it doesn't have to be to make this into an effective twist. If you'd like to experiment a little bit, come up onto your left fingertips and walk that hand up towards the front of the mat. And feel what's happening in that side body, and in your back, and in your pecs. Maybe you can feel tugging on your front ribs with your serratus muscles that are connected to your shoulder blade, resisting that movement. When you find someplace comfortable, pause there. And then, if your arm is walked in front, just bring it back. And then on an inhale, bring your arms back next to your chest. Push the floor away, lifting up. And come all the way up into table. And do a few cat-cows here. Notice your shoulders here as you're moving your spine in between your hips and shoulders. The next time you come to center, pause. Walk your hands and knees over on towards the right side of your mat. And then lower your hips down, your left hip down. We're going to do the same face down spinal twist on the left. So from here, walk your hands forward. Bring your arms out into T. Make sure you use a block or a towel if you have a sensitive chest. Feel this twist in your torso. Maybe you can feel this more clearly in your back. But your obliques are being engaged here. And on your back, the equivalent muscles to your obliques are your quadratus lumbarum. Almost exactly the same function. And if you'd like to walk that right arm up towards the front of the mat, go ahead, but don't feel compelled. But you do get a shoulder opener out of it. And then on an inhale, move that right arm back down into T. Bring your hands next to your chest. Push the floor away. Rising up again into table. A few more cat cows. And the next time you come to center, pause. On an inhale, lift that left leg up and back, stepping on the back wall. Push that heel away. And then on an exhale, bring that left foot up alongside that left pinky. Coming into dragon on the left. Right knee can go back an inch or so. Then come up onto your knee with your hands into baby dragon. You can overstep your knee again if that feels good to you. There are so few stretches that get into your calves. Check to see that your hips haven't rotated out to the right. By drawing back your left hip and pushing your right hip forward. Try dropping your hips down. Maybe that back knee can go back another 1/4 inch. But as always, the goal here is to soften those muscles so that the tension goes into your fascia. And you can stay here if you wish, or you can bring your hands down onto the mat. Come into low flying dragon. You can use blocks to raise the floor. You can walk that left foot out to the side if that makes things more tolerable. And try to lengthen your spine. Don't try to curl up into a little ball. If this becomes too much for you, you can always back up. And that's a smart thing to do. Give your muscles the opportunity to soften. Begin to deepen your breath. On your next inhale, straighten your arms, lifting your chest. Walk your hands back towards your knees. And when you can, bring that left foot back to meet the right. And you can do some cat-cows, big circles with your hips. You can curl your toes under and come up into down dog. And then gently return your knees back down onto the mat. And then come on to your favorite hip. We're not going to do chest spinal twist. Swing your feet around to the front of the mat. We're going to do that supported banana, or I'm sorry, supported swan. So come all the way down onto your back. Stretch your heels towards the front of the mat. Stretch your palms towards the back. And then your fingers in your toes. Return your arms next to your hips. Make sure you have a block available. Walk your footprints up towards your sit bones. And then tuck your tailbone under, lift your hips up, and just see how this feels. This is just a regular bridge. And then slowly come all the way back down. This next time, take your block, and as you inhale, lift up. Place that block underneath your sacrum. And then lower down. Take your left foot up on to the ceiling. Push your heel away, feeling your hamstring. Bend your left knee over onto your right thigh like a gentleman sitting. And then draw that right knee into your chest, left hand in between your legs. Make a line across the back of your right thigh, or maybe across your shins. And remember those options that you have to intensify or to modify how you feel this. And don't expect the left side to be the same as the right. Another modification would be to move that right ankle higher up on your thigh. That will intensify. Or push that left knee away. But never at the cost of putting any kind of sensation into the knee. And then become still. See if you can identify the exact moment your muscles soften. And if all your muscles are soft right now, maybe intensify. Maybe change it up so that you can move the bar. Maybe you can get more intensity to stimulate more growth. Your edge is not static. It continues to migrate. And the target of your pose. In this case, the target is your glute, left glute, and your left hip side. If your glutes aren't responding, maybe just take your hand and let your hand just touch that area with the most amount of tension and see if that helps. Begin to deepen your breath. On your next exhale, release your bind and let that right foot slowly lower down to the mat. Bring your left up onto the ceiling, stretching that leg long. And then lower that foot down to meet the right. On an inhale, we move the block instead of the side. Go in your hips and then draw your knees into your chest to rock or make circles. And the next time you come to center, pause. Release your right leg out to the front of the mat and then your left. Bring your arms up overhead and then towards the wall beyond your head. Stretch and then just soften down. Now you're in the ready pose for a right-handed banana. So again, your hips cannot move. You're super glued to your mat. But scoot your head and shoulders over towards the right side of your mat. Doesn't have to be a great deal. And then, again, without moving your hips, walk your feet over towards the right side of your mat. And pause there. You can always change your pose. Maybe you want to grab that left wrist with your right hand and lengthen that left arm. Make sure that your left hip is down. Use your breath here to make more space in your left side body. All the way from your armpit down to your hips. If you'd like to intensify this, maybe with that left foot up 2 inches, place your heel over your right ankle. And notice what the intensity of the pose is done. And ask yourself if you'll be able to soften in this position. Close your eyes and turn inside. And place yourself in those tissues that are being challenged the most. Just observe what those tissues are doing. What resources are they asking for? How much blood flow do you have there? Use your breath to bring more nutrients to those muscles and other tissues that need it most. Soften your jaw. Soften your lower abdomen. Begin to deepen your breath. On your next inhale, uncross your legs and walk your feet back to center. Slowly and carefully move your arms and your chest back to center. Bring your arms to the front of your mat, front side of your body. And when you're ready, bend your knees, walk your knees up towards your hips, draw them into your chest, give yourself a squeeze, and rock from left to right. And this time, come all the way over onto your right side. Use your left hand, push the floor away and raise up to a seated position. Coming into caterpillar. Caterpillar is seated pose. You can sit up on the block. That allows you to use gravity a little bit more to your advantage. But make sure that your sit bones are on the very front edge. It feels like you're about to slip off. But I guarantee you won't. If you have a second block, maybe you want to keep them somewhere handy. From here, lift your spine tall. Kind of head up, tuck your chin in a little bit. And then on an exhale, begin to walk your hands on the outsides of your legs towards your feet. And feel your body changing with each little micro step until you come to that place where your body asks you to pause and pause. Notice where you feel this the most. If you've been physical today, maybe where you feel this is different than it normally would be. Maybe you feel this most at the site of an old injury. But the target of this pose is twofold. One is your spine, and the other is your hamstrings. So notice where you're feeling this most. And if it's in your shoulders or your arms, bend your elbows. You could bring your backs of your hands on your shins. It's all up to you. But try to soften your lower back. Soften your abdomen. Soften your glutes. And maybe you can feel gravity making progress, urging your chest to come down a micro amount more. Move your head a little bit, left to right and up and down. Make sure that you don't stress your cervical spine, your neck, because that has the smallest muscles in the body. You can be injured so easily. Listen carefully. On your next inhale, come up halfway. Gaze at your feet. Exhale, push your collarbones forward a little bit more, and then just roll forward. Allow your spine to round. Trying to lengthen your spine. And rounding your spine is good in this particular case because you're creating more space between the discs. Soften your feet, let them drop anywhere they want. Begin to deepen your breath. On your next inhale, slowly walk your hands back with your chest up. If you're on a block, carefully remove it. Bring your hands behind your hips. Footprints on the mat. It can be wide or narrow. And windshield wiper your knees. And the next time you come to center pause, straighten out your legs, come down onto your elbows, all the way onto your back. Make sure you have a block handy. Your hands are next to your hips. Walk your footprints up towards your hips and pause there. Find your block. This will be a supported bridge. So on an inhale, tuck your tailbone under again, lift your hips up and see if this feels different than the first time you did it. And then lower your hips back again. Now your block has 3 different elevations and you don't even have to use the block if you have a lower back issue. So on an inhale, lift your hips up and place the block the highest way you feel comfortable underneath your sacrum. And put your weight on it. And then move your hips a little bit left to right, just to make sure that you're stable and your block isn't going to crumble. And then if you're stable and want to, you can walk your feet up towards the front of the mat. can come all the way onto the backs of your heels if that feels good. Or you can leave your footprints on the mat. Your legs can be together or farther apart. Completely up to you. And if you'd like a little more intensity, you can raise your arms up towards the ceiling and then onto the mat beyond your head. And just let your arms rest on the mat, on the floor. Soften your glutes. Soften your thighs. Soften your chest. Begin to deepen your breath. On your next inhale, lift your hips up. Remove the block, set it aside, and lower back down. Draw one knee into your chest, give yourself a squeeze. And then the other. Make some big circles on the ceiling with your knees. And the next time you come to center pause, release one of your legs out to the front corner of your mat. And then release the other to the other corner. Bring your arms by your side or out into T or whatever is comfortable for you. Roll your hips a little bit, left to right, to find the perfect spot on your mat made for your hips and your sacrum. Take a deep cleansing breath into your nose. Exhale it out through your nose. And then another. And exhale out through your nose. And take rest. Begin to deepen your breath. Bring your awareness back into your space. Bring movement to your fingers, into your toes, to your wrists, into your ankles. Gently roll your head from left to right. And walk your footprints up towards your sit bones. Draw your knees into your chest. Give yourself a squeeze. Massage your spine one more time. And then coming all the way over onto your right side. Pause here for just a moment, using your right arm as a pillow. And scan your body. Any tension that may still be hidden somewhere amongst your tissues, so that you can address it later this week. And then use the strength in your left hand to push the floor away. And rise up to a seated position. Thank you for sharing your yoga practice with me this afternoon. I am grateful that each of you has decided to spend time and energy promoting the health of your own body through the practice of yoga. Take the peace and compassion and empathy that you practice on your mat with you everywhere you go, and share it with your family, your friends, and each person you may meet. Namaste. My name is Clint, and this has been Yin Yoga. Thanks for attending. Just a reminder, I'm here next week, and then I'll have subs until Thanksgiving. Kat will be doing the first and third week, and a lady that some of you probably know, Rita Brendamore, is going to teach the second week. So anyway, you will be in good hands. Rita just completed a 100-hour Yin course in Cincinnati.